Please rise. Hear ye, hear ye. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Hannah is now presiding.
You may now be seated. Prosecution lawyers, please read your opening statement.
Hi, my name is Addie Partridge. I believe my witness, Princess Rapunzel, has been wronged by the evil, frightful sorceress. She kidnapped baby Rapunzel. She forced her to stay in a tall, tall tower. She tricked her father into losing his valuable daughter. The crimes are felony because kids are serious. Fraud because she tricked the father. Forcible detention because she forced Rapunzel to stay in that tower. Attempted kidnapping because she attempted and did kidnap baby Rapunzel. Child abduction because she took her. Breaking and entering because she broke into her home and took her. And theft because children are priceless. Your Honor, if you please, these all add up to 9 crimes. That is a lot. Rapunzel has told me how much she hated it. She never knew her parents. She has cried so much, I lost count. This sorceress is guilty of so much. She must be tamed, caught, and put in prison. This is why she is guilty.
Defense lawyers, you may now read your opening statement.
Hello, I'm Janice McFly, and I believe that Susie Van Sorceress is innocent and she has been deathly tricked by the king. When Susie woke up, she was lacking on her miracle grow for her beautiful Rapunzel that she dearly loved. So she called up her good friend Stan Smith, a local who lived under a bridge near Susie's garden. She asked Stan to go to a nearby store and pick up some miracle grow, and she would pay him because she is a very fair sorceress. Stan called and told Susie he was passing the garden, so she headed down to the garden. She got on the last step and looked up for Stan, but did not see him. But what she saw was the king. She was startled at first, but Susie, having her cruel sense of humor, she went to scare him, and that she did. She asked what he was doing on this lovely day, and he broke down about his wife and the Rapunzel. Well, that Rapunzel was very dear to Susie, but she knew he needed it. So she was going to give it to him, but first get a kick out of it. So she said, "Make me a deal and give me your child, and I will." She laughed. So he took it all serious and said, "Okay, if you give me the Rapunzel, I will give you our baby when it's born." She said, "Okay, deal," because she was a far sorceress and always wanted her own child. So the day came and she took the child and raised it in a locked up tower because she wanted to keep her safe. Later the child found love and did not tell Susie, so she snuck out and she went off and Susie found out. She loved someone the day she left. Later on they found each other, and Susie was a grandmother who lived in the tower alone. When the father pressed charges just to get money for the grandchildren. Therefore, I say Susie Van Sorceress is not guilty.
The prosecution now calls their first witness to the stand.
The prosecution now calls Rapunzel Corona to the stand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Let me see.
Witness, please read your opening statement.
Hi, I'm Princess Rapunzel. I was taken by the sorceress as a baby. My parents were friends with the sorceress. My dad knew about her garden, and when my mom wanted Rapunzel, he knew where to go. Usually the sorceress didn't mind, but that day she was in a bad mood and she loved her Rapunzel lettuce. So she forced my dad to give me up to pay her back. She has hated my family ever since. My dad secretly decided to send his guards out to find me later, but she moved away and locked me in a tower. She made me work hard as punishment and treated me like a servant. I never got to go to school, so I didn't learn how to read or write until a year ago. I met the prince one day, and when the sorceress came home, she finally told me the whole story and told me that she wasn't really my mom. Then she threw me out and put me isolated in a dark forest. I was there for what seemed like forever. Finally, I was reunited with my family. The sorceress has kidnapped me. I would like to charge the sorceress with kidnapping, child abduction, forcible detention, fraud, and identity theft.
Prosecution, you may now begin questioning your witness.
What did the sorceress do to you?
She stole me from my parents and told me that she was my mom. She made me a slave and abandoned me in the woods.
Why did she abandon you in the forest?
After she found out that a prince had found the tower and that he would do anything for me, she must have gotten scared. No one knew where the tower was until then. The prince was my only hope of escaping, and she separated us and abandoned me in the woods for about a year.
Has she ever been cruel to you?
She has been abusive to me my whole life. I have been very kind to her, but she is always evil and will never be nice.
What lies did you believe about her?
I thought that she was my mom because she never told me the whole story.
Did she let you leave the tower?
No, because she was afraid the guards would find me and take me home, but she didn't want anyone to know about the things she did.
Defense, you may now question the prosecution's witness.
Did you know the sorceress?
Yes, but I thought she was my mom.
Did you know your parents before you met the sorceress? Or
No, I did not.
why are you pressing charges on the sorceress?
Because I feel that she has done wrong to me and needs to be punished.
Where did you go when the prince found you?
I stayed in my tower because I didn't know that she was trying to lock me up and keep me away from my parents.
Why did your father just not ask for the lettuce?
I don't know.
That's all I need to know.
The prosecution witness may now be seated. The prosecution now calls their second witness to the stand.
The prosecution now sends Ash Pines to the stand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you. I need to have a seat.
Witness, please read your opening statement.
Hello, I am Ash Pines, and I am here today to tell you why the witch should be punished. And here is why. I am the royal dragon trainer, and I'm also the prince's younger brother. He would like me to tell you that he is sick and cannot make it here today, but I digress. Every day I train the royal dragons to see if they are physically well. I start off with hunting exercise. Me and my dragon Mithril hide various meat, chicken, ham, and on occasion venison, and the other dragons seek them out. And if they are the first to get there, then of course they get as a reward the meat they have found. And then after that, a race. And every day I go by this beautiful tower. And then I give them a meal and leave them to go rest. Except for Mithril. Me and him then are linked, so we have to go everywhere together. So I decide to tell my brother, the prince, about the tower. So he said he would go, but he didn't believe me. Well, the next day he got back, and he seemed elevated and ecstatic even. He came over to me and said, "Why?" I was so confused. He said, "Why didn't you tell me about the singing and and the maiden inside the tower. I told him that every time I went by there, I was racing on Mithril and could hear nothing but his thoughts. I was astounded when he told me there was a beautiful maiden in the tower and that they were engaged to be married. I told him I was happy for him and went to talk battle strategies for an upcoming foe. But he told me, and he said, "I'm just a prince, but you, for Odin's sake, has a dragon. A dragon. When you and Mithril are training, please train close," which I didn't mind doing. So one day when we were training, I heard a terrible scream. I hopped on Mithril and rode to the tower just to see the witch taking pregnant Rapunzel out of out to a barren land, and then I rushed to see my brother, the prince, and told him to go after her. So together we rode on Mithril to the trail and rode ahead while he followed on foot. Then I saw her cast a magic spell to blind him, so I swooped down with Mithril and told him to spit fire, which burned both Rapunzel's hair and made it shorter. And burned the witch's hair as well. Now it is brown instead of its usual pink. So at the end, we finally found Rapunzel, and they now live happily ever after. The prince once again told me to tell you that he would love to be here, but he is sick. So I'd like to finish this in saying, burn the witch.
Prosecution, you may now question your witness.
How much did the prince love Rapunzel?
He loved her so much he went blind, and every day she was away from him, where he was either looking for her or crying or plotting to kill the witch.
Why do you think that the sorceress is guilty?
I know the sorceress is guilty, for a fact, because she kidnapped she kidnapped baby Rapunzel, put her in forcible detention in a tower. Plus, on the prince there was battery and assault for keeping the baby in enforceable detention. But there was also one little fact, that no matter if she is proven guilty or innocent, witchcraft is punishable by burning at the stake. So it does not matter what is decided here today, she will burn.
Did you ever try to help your brother, the prince, save Rapunzel?
Yes, I did. When my brother the prince became blind by the witch's spell, me and Mithril swooped down and tried to burn the witch, and something I'd happily do again if the witch gets in my way.
Why are you on Rapunzel's side?
Because it's a logical thing to do. A witch who has a sketchy background, has a sketchy history before this, has committed a crime of being a witch, of course. But witchcraft is punishable by burning, as I've already mentioned. So in some alternate universe this did not happen, she would still be guilty of something. So no matter what way the sorceress is guilty, to be punished by death.
What did you see that will help prove the sorceress guilty?
While Mithril and I were flying, I saw the blindment of the prince, 2, the forcible detention of Rapunzel, 3, the kidnapping of Rapunzel, 4, and lastly, she robbed Rapunzel of her parents for lettuce. Something you can go to the Moat Mart and get for like 15 shekels, which on my way here I found lying on the ground.
Defense, you may now question the prosecution witness.
Why would the king not buy Rapunzel because he's very wealthy?
Because why would she? Because if you say that, it's acting like she owns her as a item, not a person, which she is. I don't know.
Why would the king not buy lettuce Rapunzel because he is very wealthy?
Because the wife had saw that lettuce, he wanted that lettuce, and when he tried to get it, the witch saw him and tried to stop him.
Why would the king accept the offer of giving the child away?
Because he knew that if he didn't, he would lose. If he did, he would just lose Rapunzel. But if he didn't, he would lose his wife and Rapunzel.
Was the wife of Rapunzel aware of the deal?
I'm not certain.
Why did the wife all of a sudden stop craving the Rapunzel lettuce?
Because she had it, she ate it.
Were you or anyone ever planning on telling Rapunzel about the deal?
I knew nothing of the deal. I was not there till afterwards.
Okay, that's all I need to ask.
You may now be seated. The defense now calls their first witness to the stand.
The defense now calls Stan Smith to the stand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may be seated.
Witness, please read your opening statement.
Hello, my name is Stan Smith, and I am here to tell you that Susie Von Sorceress is innocent. She did not care about her missing Rapunzel lettuce. She would have gave it to anyone, just no one ever asked, because they were scared of the old lady. Okay. She asked me to go down to Lowe's and get some Miracle Grow one day because some naughty squirrels had taken a liking to her Rapunzel lettuce. I went to Lowe's and came back about an hour later. I have the receipt to prove it. I went inside to the sorceress's house to give her the fertilizer, but was surprised to find that the sorceress wasn't inside. I then walked outside to her garden, and on the other side of the garden the sorceress seemed to be talking to somebody. I could hear them talking, but I couldn't really tell who it was until I got to the other side of the garden. Then I could only hear the very end of their conversation. The sorceress was being very nice and telling one of her classic jokes about her being evil and taking away his child. The man ran away after their talk. A few months later, a baby showed up on her doorstep. She didn't think it was safe in the city for a child, so she moved to her summer home in the woods in California. She fed her a lot and said she could leave when she was 18, for these were the city rules. The prince began visiting her. He seemed nice, but one day as he was climbing the tower, he slipped on her well-conditioned hair, falling off the tower and landing on the ground. I was running to help him, but he sprang up and dashed off. He was a very strange fellow. I think he's a little wrong in the head. You know what I mean. A few months later, Rapunzel left to go with her true love, the crazy man. That is all I know.
Defense, you may now question your witness.
How did you know Susie?
I lived in a bridge next to her house. I help her out because she is grown old. We have been friends for 7 years and still counting.
Did you ever know Rapunzel's parents?
No, I did not know them. I never passed their house, seeing as their house was on the east side of town and my bridge was on the west side. Never passed their house on the way to town.
Did you know Rapunzel?
I saw her father drop her off at Susie's house. I knew Susie raised her in her summer home, but not much else besides the sorceress's encounter with him in the garden.
Did you know the prince?
I had seen him riding his horse around town. I did not know him personally, although I had seen him at town meetings and such.
Why do you help Susie the sorceress?
I help her out because I have a loving for old people, and I like to be helpful. She was also very close friends with me.
Those are all my questions.
Prosecution, you may now question their witness.
Where were you during the years that this horrible act happened?
I was living under my bridge. I was focusing on a career in photography.
What did you see happen that makes you on her side?
Well, we've been friends for so long. It's just a bond we've grown together.
Were you helping the sorceress hide Rapunzel?
No, she was never hiding her. She had no reason to.
Why don't you think the sorceress should go to jail?
Because she's a nice lady and she didn't do anything wrong.
Do you think the sorceress should have taken the baby?
Well, it was in the mean streets of the city, and apparently her father would trade her for lettuce. He didn't care that much about her.
That is all of my questions.
Witness, you may now be seated.
The defense now calls their second witness to the stand, Susie Von Sorceress. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
You may now be seated.
Please read your opening statement.
Hi, my name is Susie Von Sorceress, and I'm here to tell you that I am innocent. Most people think that I'm a witch or a sorceress because they think I make potions or cast spells. Well, I don't. I make medicine for people. Yes, I know my last name is Sorceress, but that has nothing to do with this. Well, one day I went to my garden and saw my Rapunzel was gone. I didn't really care because I'm not one who gets mad over something that can easily be fixed. So I called my friend Stan Smith because he runs errands for me, since people are always doing mean stuff to me when I go to town, and also because I'm getting old and I can't do much. The next hour I was going out to water my plants and I saw that a man was out there picking my Rapunzel. I had seen the man before and knew that his wife was pregnant. I thought that he was probably getting some for his wife. So I went out and I said hi, and I guess he was afraid of me. He said, "I'm sorry I've been taking your Rapunzel, but it's only for my wife. How could I repay you?" I could see that he was afraid, very afraid, so I joked and said, "Well, your new baby would be nice," and then I laughed. Then he said, "Okay," and I said, "No, I was just kidding." Then he said, "No, I would love it if you would I would love it. You would actually be doing me a favor. I didn't want a baby in the first place. I couldn't tell my wife that. I told him I didn't want his child, but then he said I told him I didn't want his child, but then he said he would drop it off at my house, and then he ran off. A few weeks later, there was a knock at my door, and there was a box with a baby girl in it, and a note that said, "This is the man's baby, the man who took your Rapunzel. Please take care of her, or don't." So I took the baby to live with me in my summer home in California and named her Rapunzel. I didn't want to just leave her out there. I thought she might get hurt. A few years later, when I had woken up, I saw that the door was open and there was a note that said, "Dear Mother, thanks for feeding me and taking care of me, but I must go and start my own life." From Rapunzel. I was a little sad that Rapunzel left, and I knew that I would be accused of something with this, and of course I was, because I'm sitting here right now. But I can assure you that I am a nice and friendly person, and I was never mean to Rapunzel.
Defense, you may now question your witness.
Why would you want the baby?
I didn't really want the baby. I was just joking, and I told the king that. But he said he wanted to give it to me because he didn't want the baby. Then a few weeks later, I got a knock on my door, and the baby was there, and I didn't know what to do. So I took her in, and no one ever came back for her.
What did you think about the king stealing the Rapunzel with no permission?
I didn't really mind it because I usually have too much food anyway, so I normally just give it for free. Sometimes I give it to Stan because he loves it so much, and I never can thank him enough for what he does for me.
If the king asked you dearly for permission to have some Rapunzel, what would you say to the king?
I would tell him that he could come and get it any time, because even though I don't know him well, I knew how dearly his wife needed it, and I trusted him. Anytime I see someone in need, I try my best to help them. I usually give my vegetables to people who need it anyway.
What was your thought on seeing the baby at your doorstep with no adult supervision?
I was a little shocked because I was just joking and I knew the king was serious, but I never thought he would actually do it. To be honest, I was a little disappointed in the king, but I'm sure he had a really good reason, but I still think he was a little harsh toward the baby girl.
Why was it necessary to put Rapunzel in the tower away from all harm?
I was afraid that people would think that she was my daughter and they would hurt her since Everyone hates me. I also didn't want people to get mad at the king because he gave me his baby, even though he did something horrible. I just felt that it would be a cruel thing to let everyone know of his crime.
What did you think overall about Rapunzel finding love?
I was very happy that she was starting her life off well by finding a wonderful man and having 2 beautiful kids. I was hoping that even though she hadn't seen me in a while, she would come by and visit, but she never did.
That is all my questions.
Prosecution, you may now question the defense witness.
What were you trying to accomplish by taking baby Rapunzel?
I never did take her. I told the king I didn't want her, and then he just left her on my doorstep. So I didn't know what to do, so I just took her in and took care of her, and I told her that she could leave whenever she wanted to when she got 18. But no one ever came back for her, and then I realized that she had left one day when I woke up.
Why did you take baby Rapunzel?
I didn't take her. I told the king that I was just joking, and he just left her on my doorstep, so I just took care of her, and I thought somebody would come back for her, but they never did.
Why did you lock her in a tower with no escape?
I didn't. I just took care of her, and I told her that she could leave whenever she wanted to when she was 18. And I even told her that she wanted to go find her parents, or she wanted me to go find her parents, that I would.
Why did you separate the loving couple?
I didn't. I never even really met the prince because she never came by and visited me, and I found out by one of my friends had told me.
Why did you act as a mother?
I only acted as a mother because I felt bad for her because because when I realized no one was coming back for her, I didn't want to just let her suffer, so I just decided to be nice to her, and I fed her and always took good care of her.
Witness, you may now be seated. The court is now adjourned for jury's deliberation.